What is the difference between misdemeanor and felony domestic violence? Basically, it comes down to one thing called a traumatic condition. But what does that mean? In this video, we are going to be going on a deep dive to the legal definition of a traumatic condition. My name is Veronica. I'm a domestic violence defense attorney, and I practice throughout the entire state of California. I help people put their cases behind them so that they can enjoy their lives and their freedom. I'm also the creator of a course called Defeat the DVRO, in which I teach you from start to finish exactly how to represent yourself in a restraining order hearing and win. So if that's something that you're dealing with, in addition to dealing with a domestic violence criminal case, make sure that you get your free first class in the course via the link down below. Today we're doing things a little bit differently, and we are going to be learning about traumatic condition through a game show called Judgment Call. This is our second episode of Judgment Call, so you may recognize our special guest host, Judge L. Liberty. Now, a little disclaimer, while we are having fun today with this game show format, obviously getting arrested for domestic violence and domestic violence in general is a very serious topic. So while I am trying to entertain you, while I teach you, this is not to trivialize the law or the situation that you find yourself in. All right, so let's jump right in. Judge, take it away. Thank you, counselor. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Judgment Call, the game where you are the judge. Today's challenge, figuring out what counts as a traumatic condition. And we are going to be welcoming back two contestants today. Hey there, I'm contestant 1. I may not have gone to law school, but I do have common sense, and I'm going to use it to wipe the floor with contestant 2. Hi everyone, I'm contestant 2. I didn't go to law school either, but I am a rocket scientist for whatever that's worth. Law is like math. It is a formula. The judge gives us the rule, we apply it to the facts, and that is exactly how I intend to prevail today. You may recognize our contestants from our previous episode where unfortunately neither one of them were able to prevail. Better luck to one of them this time. All right, now in order to play a game, you have to know the rules. So let's get into the rule here, the definition of traumatic condition. Our contestants are going to be applying this definition to 3 different scenarios and telling us whether or not it qualifies as a traumatic condition. A traumatic condition means a bodily injury, whether internal or external, that was caused by physical force. The size, severity, and duration of the injury do not matter. Strangulation or suffocation, even without marks, is sufficient, but only if it causes a problem with circulation or impedes breathing. All right, got that? Now let's jump right into our scenario. During an argument, Alex grabs Taylor's wrist forcefully to stop Taylor from leaving. The grip leaves a bruise, but it fades after a couple days and it doesn't really hurt. Does this meet the definition of a traumatic condition? Contestants? Yes, I think that this one is pretty obvious. Alex grabbed Taylor hard enough to leave a bruise. A bruise is an injury, so yes, it qualifies. Yes, absolutely. A bruise is obviously a traumatic condition. Can you give us a harder question? Both contestants are correct here. The bruise qualifies as a traumatic condition. Remember, the law is only concerned about whether or not physical force caused an injury. The law does not care about whether it physically hurts or how severe it is or whether it fades after a few days. So, 1 point to both contestants. Scenario 2. During an argument, Jamie puts her hands on Sam's throat and squeezes. Sam gasps for air, feels dizzy, and coughs uncontrollably. However, doctors examine him and they don't find any evidence of an injury. Does this meet the standard for a traumatic condition? Contestants? Yes, if somebody is gasping for air or coughing and can't breathe, then I think that's going to qualify as a traumatic condition. That sounds pretty traumatic to me, so I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say no to this one. I think that this is a trick question. Yes, there was some coughing and dizziness, but it doesn't sound like the circulation was cut off or there was some sort of inability to breathe. So I am going to go with no. Strangulation does qualify under the law, even without visible marks or lasting injury. Any act that interferes with breathing or with circulation counts as a traumatic condition. Here we have coughing, we have gasping for air. Obviously, at the very least, breathing is impeded. Possibly even circulation is impeded since Sam felt dizzy. All right, point for contestant 1. Riley grabs Morgan's arm in anger. It leaves a red mark that fades after a couple of hours, but there is no bruise. Does this qualify as a traumatic condition? Yes, again, and no offense, Judge, but who wrote these anyway? All 3 are yeses? Anyway, if Riley's grip left a mark, even for a short time, then that sounds like a traumatic condition to me, so I'm going to say yes. No, a red mark that is gone in a couple of hours, that doesn't qualify as an injury. There has to be an injury here in order for it to qualify as a traumatic condition. So I'm going to go with no traumatic condition. Even a temporary red mark that does not form into a bruise, that does count as a traumatic condition under the law. The law does not care how quickly this injury fades. It only cares that there was an injury. Contestant 1 gets a point again. So this means congratulations to contestant 1, our unlikely winner of today. Better luck next time, contestant 2. And that, folks, is how the law defines traumatic condition. That is how those things play out in court, whether here at judgment call or in a court of law. Now, for those of you at home, I'd like to leave you with one final scenario. If Alex pushes Taylor, but leaves no visible injury, would that count as a traumatic condition, and why or why not? Let us know in the comments. And that wraps up our second episode of Judgment Calls. Stay tuned for more, because if I know anything about contestant 2, it's that she's going to want a rematch. Now look, even if in your particular case there is a traumatic condition, that doesn't mean you're automatically going to get convicted. There are plenty of defenses. This video is just a deep dive into one of the elements that the prosecution has to meet, because when we are fighting your case, we want to look at every single possible way to fight it. And there are all sorts of defenses that may apply to your case. Self-defense, accident, false accusation comes up a lot. Those all may apply to you, and even if they don't, especially if this is your first arrest, many times we are able to get the case dropped before court. So if you do need help with a domestic violence case, make sure to give me a call. You can find my number down below. You can also book a consultation directly right there via the link. And if you did find this video helpful, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell.